The first thing I have to talk about, because I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about this, because unfortunately, it has become a story. And that is one Shedeur Sanders. Now, when he didn't go in the first round, I thought it was kind of funny. I thought, haha, here's this guy. He's full of himself. He's, an overrated prospect. And he did this whole thing that was just, ridiculous about like he had the room with legendary and how he's going to be so great. Haha, he didn't go in the first round. And then he didn't go in the second round. And then he didn't go in the third round. And then he didn't go in the fourth round. And by this point, I was thinking, oh my gosh, is he going to go at all? And finally, he ends up in the fifth round. And he ends up with the Cleveland Browns, which is now a quarterback room of Deshaun Watson, Dylan Gabriel, and a few other people that I don't remember. It's like to the point where I'm like, okay, they really don't see him that highly. Or they just think, okay, we'll have a million quarterbacks, and one of them's got to be good. But the thing that gets me is the reaction of a lot of the media. So I'll start with them, and then we'll get into Shedeur. Mel Kiper, sir, with all due respect, you've been a media personality for a very long time. You've been a draft analyst for a very long time. I don't remember a time when this guy was not a running gag, essentially. He was about ready to, burst a vein in his skull. He was so upset that teams were not taking him. Like, look, was it like, did I expect Jackson Dart to go ahead of him? No, I didn't, but I'm just a guy with a microphone in front of him. This guy, Mel Kiper, was out here comparing Shedeur Sanders to Aaron Rodgers, to Johnny Unitas, to Drew Brees. We're talking about some of the greatest singular football players ever. Comparing them to a guy who had one winning season in Colorado where he got murdered in the bowl game that he played in, never won a conference championship, was never in the running for the Heisman, was never considered a top quarterback in college football at any point other than maybe after week 1. And the only reason, and yes, I will go down this path, the only reason he's even on the team is because the coach didn't birth him. Whoa, let's go. This is a different theory. The coach is his biological father. That is the only reason. If his last name was Shedeur Smith, would he be the quarterback? He could, but he definitely wouldn't be the quarterback if his competition was named Steve Sanders and his father was the coach. And you're not allowed to say that because apparently Shedeur Sanders is, Aaron Rodgers, I guess. I don't know. And then it gets into some of the more egregious and annoying stuff about, oh my gosh, the NFL is racist. They don't like it when a black man is the quarterback. They don't like it when he doesn't recode his life to being white. Now, you know what annoys me in particular about this? Like, is the implication that to, quote, be black, you have to destroy any teams or destroy teams' interviews that you don't want to go to. You have to just deliberately disrespect those teams and not actually give them a solid interview. You have to be braggadocious and full of yourself and, generally speaking, not take any responsibility and be as unhumble as humanly possible. Is that what I'm to take away is what it means to, quote, be black, according to these people? Because that seems pretty racist to me. I know a lot of black people. None of them are like this. In fact, they're quite pleasant. They can be humble. They can be fun. They can be perfectly amicable people. None of them are like Shedeur Sanders, who seems like none of that. I mean, in college, he threw his offensive line under the bus multiple times. And he says in media coverage, he says, do not draft me if you are not willing to change your entire culture around me. All right. Challenge accepted. We will not draft you. Like, it'd be one thing if you were, again, Aaron Rodgers, if you were Cam Newton, if you were one of these draft prospects that at the time, was just seen as so obviously unanimous number one overall. That would be one thing. All right. But you're not. You're a mediocre pro prospect at best. And frankly, the fact that you get drafted at any point, let alone, at first round, second round, whatever, that is a success. It is hard to get into the NFL. It is hard to get drafted. And the fact that he was put up as this, he's going to be a first round pick. And if you don't think he's a first round pick, you're a racist and you just hate black men being quarterback. I got news for you. Okay. Plenty of black quarterbacks are, helming their teams at the position this year. The Super Bowl champion was a black quarterback. There is no aversion by teams to have black quarterbacks. It just doesn't exist. The problem is this black quarterback. So, the whole thing, if there's any learning experience that Shedeur should experience, it is this. Humility is a virtue. Do not take yourself so seriously. Do not put yourself at a level that you are not at. Do not build a set with your name and legendary all over the walls, ready to answer the call for you to be taken in the first round. Don't do that. Don't deliberately botch interviews for teams you don't want to play for. I got news for you. You don't get a whole lot of role in who you play for in the NFL. Not when you're that level, okay? You're going to be a backup to a backup in Cleveland. Now, if you work hard, if you put your head down, if you stop making everything about you, you might be able to get yourself a starting role, and people might start growing in their admiration and their respect for you. Unfortunately, something tells me that's just not going to happen because all this kid has been inundated with by his father and by the media is that he's so great, and if the whole world just would understand him, then he would get everything he ever wanted. But, why should we teach young people about responsibility and about ownership and humility when we can tell them about how awesome they are? That's a much better and much healthier way to live, right? That's worked out very well for us. Hi, it's me again. If you enjoyed what you just saw, hit the like and subscribe button. We do live shows every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Hope to see you there.